So, we have often heard of the anxious avoidant trap, the term used to describe the relationship between somebody who's very anxious and tends to lean more towards wanting to hold on tight and not let go in a relationship due to their underlying fears of abandonment, versus somebody who is much more avoidant, somebody who needs a lot of that freedom and space and time. And in this video, we're going to talk specifically about these two attachment styles, the anxious preoccupied and the dismissive avoidant in love. And we're going to discuss the biggest challenge in this relationship. Now, there are a few different challenges, but by far the biggest challenge between these two is that their unmet needs, or their needs as individuals, seem to contradict with one another. Meaning, we see that the anxious preoccupied tends to always want more connection, more time in the relationship. And the dismissive avoidant tends to always want more space in the relationship. And if we watch closely and sort of look into it under like a magnifying glass, what you'll see is that the anxious individual, they're always trying to come towards and sort of extract more time, more connection from the dismissive avoidant, which actually triggers the dismissive avoidant because they tend to have this big fear of feeling trapped or losing their autonomy or their sense of self in a relationship. And so then they start to pull away. And the more they pull away, the more the anxious preoccupied wants to hold on tight, because the more their abandonment fears are triggered. And then the more their abandonment fears are triggered, the more the dismissive avoidance feelings of being trapped are triggered. And this is what I call and have coined as a primary trigger pattern, meaning one of your biggest core wounds is exactly what triggers the other person's biggest core wounds. And every single relationship, and I found this through the better part of a decade counseling and working with couples, is every single relationship has a primary and usually a secondary trigger pattern, meaning that one of your big core wounds triggers one of the other person's big core wounds and vice versa. And what I see in this dynamic between the AP and DA is it's actually the unmet needs, like the needs that they have then incite the core wounds. And it's sort of this like double-edged sword. It's like this unmet need for more time. And then when the person's like, whoa, I don't have more time. I don't want to, spend extra time all the time, or I don't have the same capacity to spend as much time as my partner does and feel recharged by that, then in turn, it sort of triggers and sets off that person's biggest fears, biggest wounds internally. So you could say like this is the biggest problem, but it's almost like a two-pronged problem, if that makes sense. So what do we do about the situation? So I'm going to take you through a couple of steps and some things that are really important to notice. But I also do want to let you know we have a whole course on this between the AP and DA, and it's all about all of the major core wounds that they have that trigger each other. It's about all of the major unmet needs. And then it's all about how to solve those problems, even using the different language that each attachment style responds best to. Like, it is really granular and nuanced. And honestly, for anybody who's been watching these videos for a while, like, the courses inside PDFs are just 100 times better than the videos, because I have so much more time to go into concepts and explain things. And there's worksheets and workbooks and follow-up webinars with Q&A, like everything you could need answers for is designed to be in there. So anyways, and you can check that course out down below for free for 7 days. And that's more than enough time to get through a course. So anyways, with that being said, so what happens is one of the first things you need to know is that having different needs does not mean that we can't meet each other's needs. So there's this idea that it's like, oh, needs are mutually exclusive. You either want more time and more space, and they can't go together. But that's not true. You can have quality time, more quality of time, and respect one another's space. So what I would get couples to do in sessions that I would run in my practice for years is I would get couples to come in and share their ideal amount of time they wanted to spend, and then the ideal amount of space, okay, that they needed to recharge, who are anxious and avoidant. And then what I would have them do is ask themselves, because this is like the $1 million question, is why do I want more time? What am I actually looking for? What is the time giving me? And what I would find with pretty much every anxious preoccupied client is they would say, it gives me validation, it gives me certainty, it gives me comfort, and it makes me feel loved. And it could be, it makes me feel like I matter, or like I'm cared for, like I'm significant to my partner. So I have some exciting news, which is that we are doing $1,000 off of our lifetime membership sale to the Personal Development School, which means you get access to literally everything at PDS for your entire rest of your life. Essentially, that entails all of our different courses you have lifetime access to, I do 4 live webinars a week, every single week. You can access them ongoing, and you get access to all of our daily community events. So I'd love to see you on the other side, and you can access it by using the link in the description box below. And so what I would have them do is find a healthy compromise that meets directly in the middle between how much their ideal. So sometimes, generally, what I would see is the AP says, I want to spend at least 4 days of the week together. And the DA says, okay, I think I can do 1 to 2 days of the week together. And I would say, okay, let's meet in the middle. So let's find that exact middle ground. And are we comfortable sort of compensating for those differences through phone calls, through texts? Like, how often do we want to communicate? What are our needs? And how can we just come to a very logical compromise? And where that compromise was not the end of the discussion. So, for example, if the AP says, okay, I want to spend 4 nights, and the DA says, okay, I want to spend 2 nights, 4 nights minimum, 2 nights maximum. Okay, so we settle around 3 nights, right? And we try to say, okay, is that okay with us as a compromise to meet in the middle? And if people's schedules are not able to compensate for that or allow for that, then how do we make up the time that can't be spent there? Can we do FaceTime calls? Can we have a driving on the way to work phone call? Can we have a before bed phone call for 15 minutes? And quality matters more than quantity. And I had some situations with people where, like, an AP, for example, maybe was in a career transition and had more time, and a DA was like in the opposite, like just starting a new career and had a second job and was co-parenting with an ex, and had like very minimal time. But I would say, look, we just have to set some ground rules, because the time is just representative of the needs for the AP. If you said to the AP, you want more time with your partner, but every time you're going to spend together, you're going to argue the whole time. If you waved a magic wand and said, okay, you have more time, but every time you're going to argue, the AP will be like, well, then I don't want that, right? So it's actually not about time. It's about the needs that time is supposed to meet. It's about feeling loved, feeling certain, feeling acknowledged, feeling that sense of comfort. And so I would have the DA work towards being more validating, being more present, being more open to giving certainty, right? Saying, hey, I'm excited about the relationship. I'm here for you. I love the progression that we're having, and working on giving those things that the AP needed to feel loved and wanted and special. And then on the flip side, when the DA needed some time to themselves or was taking some time to recharge, the AP to be really respectful and supportive of that. Like, hey, I know you need some time to yourself this weekend. Or even if they're spending time together and you can tell the DA is sort of like tired, to have that AP say, hey, if you need to just go take some time in the other room and just recharge or anything like that, that's totally fine, especially in spaces where maybe they're spending the whole weekend together, going on a vacation or a trip. So by being clear on what actually has to happen there, what and how we can respect each other's needs, it stops the needs from being mutually exclusive. We can have a relationship where that time need is met for actually what the time represents to the AP, and the respect for a person's freedom and autonomy is met at the same time, and they're not mutually exclusive things. And this is one of the biggest things that's important to get out of the anxious avoidant trap. And by giving that certainty, by giving that respect, the DA giving the AP certainty, the AP validating that they understand and respect the DA's needs. This is how we get out of that like constant sort of friction period. Now, there's a whole bunch more to this, really, but this is sort of at a high level, something I can share with you as like a tidbit in this video. If you want to do a deeper dive, please come and check out the school. It's so much more informative and in depth and clear, and just saves so much time helping you work through things that you might have been carrying for quite a while. And you can check out this course about the AP and DA relationship and how to heal it and maximize the potential for connection, for growth, for like thriving together in the relationship. And you can check it out for free, as I mentioned, for 7 days using the link down below. And when I say free for 7 days, you can definitely get through a course in 7 days. So I hope this is helpful for you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Please like, share, and subscribe if you're enjoying this channel, and I will see you in future videos.